I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, one of the top trends researcher in the world. He is the publisher of the Trends Journal. I'm talking about Gerald Celente. Gerald Celente, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
I love being on USAWatchdog.com. Thanks for having me on, Greg.
I don't know. Some people don't know this, but you're very good on the economy. I mean, you called, the market crash in '08 and the housing bubble and stuff like that. And I wanted to talk about the most recent actions this past week with, the European Union. They just look like they're panicked. I mean, Draghi, he got his bazooka out and he had, 5 basis point drop in interest rates and didn't look like it did what it was supposed to do. Give us your feelings on what's going on in Europe.
Tracking trends is an understanding of where we are, how we got here, and where we're going. And the how we got here was, people will say to me, well, Celente, you've been saying this market's going to decline for a long time. And they're right. I said it back. I thought it would end in 2010. I had no idea that they would make up something, Greg, called quantitative easing. Oh yeah, that means shoveling a lot of cheap dough into the system to prop up the equity markets, because we know as a fact it didn't boost the economic growth. Economic growth chugged along at about 2%. And then again, without getting into all the data, 51% of the people making under $30,000 a year, that wealth from 2009 when they started quantitative easing and zero interest rate policy, 95% of it went to 1%. And as a matter of fact, here's a quote here that's worth reading. It's from David Fisher.
Oh, yeah, the former Dallas Fed president who said they front-loaded the system and they wanted to create a wealth effect. I can't believe he admitted to that.
That's right. So
he admitted that they, quote, front-loaded the system, and he wanted to create a wealth effect. Isn't that right?
You got it. And then yesterday, last Wednesday, when it was the celebration of, 2009, when the market started going up, he's back on the news and he said, quote, we injected cocaine and heroin into the system to enable a wealth effect that, of course, he admits that didn't work. Now we are maintaining it with Ritalin. And he said the Fed is a giant weapon that has no ammunition left. Let's take his quote. This is very important. We injected cocaine and heroin into the system. You go back to our 2010, a trend alert. We said this was no recovery, it was a cover-up. But what he just said is a criminal act by injecting cocaine and heroin into the system. It was a criminal act by the banking gang. Let's get it straight, folks. You inject cocaine and heroin, those are illegal drugs. And so too is quantitative easing and zero interest rate and now negative interest rate policy, because it's a war on we the little people, the savers, that have no place to put our dough. And now going back to last week with Draghi coming out, again, the former head of the Goldman Sachs gang's European division, Mario Draghi, the guy that dragged Greece into the Euro group when he was with the Goldman Sachs gang and they weren't eligible to do it. Yes, that Mario Draghi, now what they did, not only did they increase the stimulus from 60 billion euros to 80 billion euros, but get this, man, they're buying corporate bonds as well. And the bond buying bubble has burst. You can see what happened when all of a sudden they announced this everybody greatly anticipated announcement. Gold prices went way down. The markets went way up. And then all of a sudden, the markets went down. And gold prices went way up. And you know why? Because everybody knows it's a fraud. Even the Fed guys. Go back, again, how we got here, where we are, and where we're going. Let's just go back to January 29th. That's not ancient history. Hey, what happened? You remember? Yes, the Bank of Japan started negative interest rates. Let's go back a week and a half before that. Let's go to Davos. And we heard the guy Dalio of Bridgewater Associates, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, at Davos, announced that we need more quantitative easing and stimulus. The very next day, Mario, Goldman Sachs gang Draghi announces, hey folks, when March comes around, we're going to stimulate. The markets went way up. And then, by the way, happened at Davos with Dalio, and then also, I mentioned the Bank of Japan with negative interest rates. Yeah, before he went to Davos, that low-life Slimer called the governor of the Bank of Japan, he tells the parliament, the Japanese parliament, we have no plans for negative interest rates. So what I'm saying is, when anybody says the game is rigged, all you have to do is go to Davos, go back to the facts, you see where we are, it's not working. And by the way, you look at the price of gold from back when negative interest rates in Japan announced on January 29th, and now it's up like over, well over 150.
Oh, yeah, 200. I think it was 10. I think it's pretty close to about 1050, 1045 in the early part of December.
Right.
Now it's 12, I don't know, 70, 80, something like that. So that's a huge move in gold.
Yep. Go back to that time. You could see the move because all this is, it's heroin and cocaine. It doesn't fix you, and neither does Ritalin.
Do you think that it's unwinding now, that this is the year? A couple of people have missed this. I myself thought it would go in 15. Of course, China crashed in 15. But do you think it's crashing and winding now? David Stockman says that this whole little Ponzi scheme is going to unwind. That's not exactly what he said. He says the economy is going to unwind before the election cycle is finished. What trend do you see with the economy?
Well, here's the cover of our Trends Journal. Panic of 2016. It's underway. You mentioned about gold. What's gold's up over 20% since the beginning of the new year? You looked at the banking stocks. They were down. You had stocks like banking stocks like Deutsche Bank down 40%. You go across the line. And when they juiced them up a little bit, follow the money. That's the story. Follow the money. Look at the problems the banks are in. Oh, now there's negative interest rate policy? Yeah. That's right. The big banks, they charge them to stick the dough into the central banks, and they can't pass on that cost to the lenders, so the bank profits are going way down. Oh, and then there's another little story that nobody wants to talk about. And again, you read the BS from Draghi. He's blaming low inflation on lower oil prices. Hey, Draghi, could you add up more than one? How about iron ore? Could you figure in copper? What about zinc? Did you look at aluminum? There's a commodity crisis going on. I'm mentioning this because it all ties in together as they're going back to the banks, because when they started the heroin and cocaine addiction, that all that cheap money from quantitative easing went into the emerging markets. Yeah, all those resource-rich nations borrowing money for nothing and the banks loaning them more. Now, these resource-rich nations, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Venezuela, Brazil, go around the world from Congo to Nigeria to Niger, one place after another. Commodity prices are way down. They borrow this money in dollars. Their currencies are way down. The banks loaned them the money. They have to pay it back now. And again, you talked about China. China takes in between 40 to 45% of those raw materials that are now selling at bargain basement prices. They're not going to be able to pay back their debt. Follow the banks. Follow the money. Money makes the world go round.
Is gold really a reason why it's going up? I mean, gold is going up with copper and zinc and all the commodities, oil, all in the doldrums, all either in the doldrums or going down. Why is gold going up? Is it the premier collateral? Are people afraid of inflation? Why the gold play? Are people afraid the bonds are going to go poof?
It's not inflation in the sense that people talk about supply and demand inflation. If you have high demand and low supply, that drives the price up. This is a currency devaluation. So if you lived in Venezuela, for example, and you see inflation going up, 720%, and they just devalue your currency 30% like they did in Argentina, would you rather have gold or would you rather have their currency? So it's a devaluation. This is what I was saying. It's devaluation of currencies. From the yuan, you see that happening. It's all around the world. So people see what's going on. And look, euros. Would you want to hold euros as they're devaluing it? So that's what's pushing people into gold. And also, again, we've been saying this for years. When we said it, nobody wanted to hear it. Now you're hearing it from the head of whether it's UBS or the central banker running Austria, that these policies of quantitative easing and negative interest rates are not working. They're flooding the world with fake money, backed by nothing and printed on nothing. It's collapsing in front of us. Their deal isn't working. Go back again. I began by reading that statement from Fisher when he commented last week on the anniversary of the bottom of the make. Everybody applauded. We saved the world from going into a depression. You saved the money junkies and you gave them more heroin and cocaine, Jack. That's all you did. But they applauded it then when they fed the money junkies how great this was, and every politician, every low-life prostitute applauded it. And now, the reason the markets went way down after Draghi announced more drugs was even the top cats admit that the freaks are hooked on their money junkies. And the only way they could survive is more heroin, but at some time, man, you overdose.
And you think we're in an overdose right now? We think we've already OD'd.
They're OD. They're junkies. The Fed president, the Fed guy, Fisher, said it's heroin and cocaine. You don't survive on doing heavy-duty drugs, man. There's a heroin epidemic in this nation, and there's a heroin epidemic on Wall Street. They're money junkies. You can't stay alive with it. Look at oil prices. Look how they keep going up and down. When do they go up? They go up when they think they're going to do a deal to limit supply. Has nothing to do with demand. And that's what I'm saying. It's a supply and demand issue at the bottom of the day. But that disconnect from price discovery is gone. All it is drugs. Again, it's right here. I want to read it one more time by Fed President Dick Fisher, who admitted, as you quoted, the Fed front-loaded an economic market rally to create a wealth effect. It's a fake high, man. That's all it is.
I want to talk here. Move on to your one of the things you brought up in your phrase, "In the age of stupid." Only as Gerald Celente can phrase things where you get your attention. The age of stupid. I want to talk about the presidential reality show. I've never seen one party attack its own front runner as much as Donald Trump. I don't know if he's going to be good for the country or not, but boy, them just being against him makes me say, I think I may like him because all the money junkies hate him. So tell me about the presidential reality show. What's your view on how the campaign is unfolding right now? And please fit in there Jorge Ramos asking Hillary Clinton if she'll step down if she's indicted.
All right. Here was the cover of the Trends Journal a year ago. Liars, cowards, freaks, and fools, welcome to the presidential reality show. That was before Donald Trump, a reality show champion, got into the race. This is 2 months before. It was a freak show back then. All this is, Greg, let's everybody get this straight. These are not debates. They're game shows. They've been taken over by the major networks. And by the way, you could thank the Clintons for that one too. Deregulation of the Federal Communications Act back in 1996 when 6 companies controlled 90% of the major media. Now, what happens? They've skewed these just like game shows. The questions are game shows. You have 90 seconds to answer a question and a 60-second rebuttal if your name is mentioned. Go back to the Lincoln-Douglas debates. The first cat that went out spoke for 90 minutes, not 90 seconds. The next guy got in, spoke for 60 minutes. The first one 60 minutes, the second one 90 minutes, and the first person that spoke out what they call a 30-minute rejoinder. So what they've done, and you can see the setup, they've turned this into the age of stupid. It's a reality show. That's all it is, and it's been taken over by the major media. Now, you asked me about the Republican Party attacking Trump. Let's look at the Republican Party officials. Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan. Was that the guy that played like Eddie Munster, I think it was, before he got this job? Who else we got there? McCain, Lindsey Graham. They're a bunch of nobodies. Why do you think Trump ran all over these guys? This guy, what did he do? He puts his hand on the shoulder of Jeb Bush. The first debate says, you're a nice guy, but you're a lot of nothing, basically. He knocked out the top guy. Then who was after him? Carson? Carson would say something, and he said, what did he just say? Then he went after the second guy, Carson. Then after Cruz. Trump knows what he's doing. There's nobody in his way. I began my career, Greg. I used to run political campaigns in Westchester County in New York at a graduate school. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate and designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. Trump knows who these guys are. They're a bunch of nobodies. They're the people you couldn't stand in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. So that's why he's running all over them. There's nothing in his way. There is no Republican Party, just like there's no Democratic Party. If they could have a guy like Bernie Sanders, stop your Coney Island act, Jack. I know what it looks like. And you could see him rising so high by throwing out cheap lines. But you don't have to pay for school anymore. Come on. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing there. It's a reality show, man. It's the Wizard of Oz, an old man behind the curtain with a dog and a couple of levers.
Do you think Hillary Clinton will be indicted? I mean, Jorge Ramos coming out during the debate this last week and asking, will you step down if you're indicted? She just looks like she's going to be indicted. They got people with immunity. It means they have some sort of legal proceeding going on, like a grand jury. Her guy that set up her email server. I just think she's, and then you hear, and here's what I think is amazing. Trump has said at least 2 or 3 times, I heard him say it, she shouldn't even be allowed to run. Why isn't that a big news story? She shouldn't even be allowed to run. Nobody is covering that in the mainstream press. Why?
Because the top people in a neo-feudal society never pay for their crimes. Let's go back and look at, we were talking earlier about the markets. 6 banks convicted of felonies for rigging the LIBOR rates, the interest rates, and the Forex markets at the tune of, $5.3 trillion a day, the currency markets? Convicted of felonies. Hey, folks, remember Obama was going to make those Wall Street guys pay for their crimes? Free ride. you don't look at Petraeus, the general, the CIA head, sending his girlfriend, inside dope about what's going on. You get a free ride, but I'll tell you, we're going to get that Snowden and that Bradley Manning. Oh, yeah. And all those other whistleblowers that Obama has convicted more than all the other ones combined throughout history.
I think that Obama, though, hates Hillary. I mean, it's well documented in the Blood Feud books. I don't think he's going to turn the Democratic Party over to her. I think he is going to, all these bombs came from him. That's my thing. Tell me if my
I don't know. I just don't know.
I think she's going to get convicted. I think she's going to get at least charged.
If she does get charged, you see, the thing is, again, on a political strategy end, the people that will vote for her won't care about that. The people that already don't like her, that's an issue. But I'm just talking about pure politics and how campaigns are run. So her core base and the Democratic Party won't care about that issue.
But she's got to get independents. She's got to get other people. There's all this big movement, too, with Democrats for Trump. I mean, they did a poll a few weeks ago, and they said that 20% of Democrats would vote for Trump. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Again, you think he might be president?
He has an absolute shot at it. But what Hillary Clinton has, if she becomes the nominee, she's going to get the women vote. Again, just looking at strategy. And by the way, I was watching last week, her and Bernie Sanders. I can't watch too much of this stuff, man. It's the same lines over and over again. She's calling herself a progressive. Yeah.
A communist.
Sure you are. So what she's doing is they're playing to the Hispanic vote, the immigrant vote, the black vote, the women vote. Hey, did I ever tell you my grandmother was a grandmother? We never had a woman for president before, have we? My mother was a mother, and I'm a mother, and I'm a grandmother. I mean, she keeps playing the gender issue over and over again. So I'm saying, when you come down to the voting, when you get down to that point, then they're going to do the attack on Trump about how misogynist he is. Hey, you like my big hands? This is the kind of thing that will happen.
So, one last thing I wanted to get this in, and you said, and I want to read this quote in one of your writings recently. A gang of lunatics are running and ruining life on the planet. And I guess you could just look at just about anywhere on the planet, whether the Middle East or South China Sea or Europe or America. They look like these people are just nuts. Explain that. A gang of lunatics running and ruining life on Earth.
We talked about, for example, the presidential reality show, and you look at this. It's disgusting. Could you imagine Eisenhower on that stage?
Yeah. No.
All right. Now let's go to Europe. Look at the faces. Look at the names. From Cameron to Hollande. Just go around. Here they are last week, all meeting in Brussels, Greg, to figure out how to stop the refugee crisis. In all of the coverage, no one is talking about who caused the refugee crisis. It couldn't be Sarkozy and Cameron, along with Hillary Clinton, Samantha Rice, and Susan Powers, and Obama, that destroyed Libya because Gaddafi had to go, and now the place is a hellhole, and refugees and migrants are flooding through there. That never happened before when he was in power. Who else? Well, it couldn't be because you bombed Iraq into oblivion, killed over 1 million people. Oh, is that why they're leaving? They're leaving for their safety? No. They want to go to they want to go to Paris. Oh, how about Syria? I'll tell you, remember, Hillary Clinton again, and Obama, and Kerry, and Cameron, and all the rest. Assad has to go, and we're going to support their moderate rebels that nobody could ever see, and destroy one of the most prosperous countries in the Middle East. Who caused all these problems? Oh, I forgot Afghanistan. What about Yemen? But you never hear a peep from the people that caused the damage or the prostitutes calling them out on it. It's lunatics that are destroying the world, and then they're going to come up with solutions to fix it?
Yeah, it's not going to get any better anytime soon in the Middle East either, I don't think. Anyway, hey, listen, Gerald Celente, you're the top trends researcher in the world. You are the publisher of the Trends Journal. Thank you for coming on for an update for USA Watchdog. Thank you, Gerald Celente. We really appreciate having you on.
Greg Hunter, I love being on USA Watchdog, and thank you for all that you do and the great guests that you bring on.